distribution centers now, it was set up at, like, I was reading that there was maybe like Thai Look, and also the Baptist Church are distribution centers where what you guys cook at a 46 Mott, then it goes
No,
to.
that was separate in the beginning. That was a rethink.
Oh, that was
Like,
Rethink.
yeah,
Okay.
Like my association, like, partnered up with Rethink to do the distribution of Rethink meals. That they like at those three, like at CCBA, at the church, and in front of Thai Look. That was a partner with Rethink, and also we also distributed throughout the whole Lower East Side, through all the NYCHA and the section.
How did you get to go so far? Because then you have a place where they pick up your stuff from 46 Mott, and then people just drive to the distribution areas that you designate is like the senior citizen or the homeless.
Yeah, you work with like the community, the tenant leaders, the community partner. It was a lot of logistics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how did you get everybody to, just the traveling and the heavy weights and all that?
But that was
amazing.
separate from what I was doing on my line during that time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I partnered up with Rethink in September.
Oh,
so,
okay, that's
yeah.
September.
Yeah.
So the line, you call that your line business, okay?
Yeah, my line.
Explain the line business, because our news goes across the nation. So the line business out of 46 Mott Street, a central location in New York's Chinatown. Then you saw lines of people, like up to how many people was that?
Like, even when we're doing like 200 meals a day, there was like 250 people on the line at sometimes.
Wow.
Yeah. And the line it started from my store, wrapped around to like the McDonald's on the Bowery, the old McDonald's.
Wow.
So it wrapped around the whole block. Like.
Yeah, so you had a lot of people to feed until you ran out of food.
Yeah. Every day until I feed and until I run out. Yeah.
And those people will wait for a long time.
Yeah, some wait from like 9 or 6, 7 in the morning, for a meal. So.
It's amazing. That's amazing. You're probably exhausted from doing all of that work.
I'm still here.
You're still
I'm
here.
still doing it.
Yeah. What's your day like? What's a typical day like for you, right? Like, I'm just curious, like.
It's either I'm running the store, or I'm doing some type of Zoom call or meetings, or doing the back end work, like, the front of the shop, and it never ends. There's always something new.
Yeah,
every time.
And then you get food ready for the next day, so you don't sleep.
No.
You're the man of few words, they say. And for Patrick we're so honored to have you talk to us at length. So the months of your work, January started the, pandemic in New York, and then leading up to now, it's like, a year's worth. So chronological order, could you give us an idea of the ideas that started in your head in January, and then, you don't have to go month by month, but you could give us like sets of months and what
January, when business started slowing, we're like, oh, it's bad, and it's gonna get worse. Then New Year's happened in February, and we're like, oh my god.
Chinese New Year's.
Yeah, Lunar New Year's, and
right.
Like, we're not getting that cushion. We're not gonna get that the bump in business.
Right.
Like, and that's what really hurt a lot of businesses, because we didn't get like the full festivities of New Year's to like help insulate for the slower.
So that felt like percentage wise,
like 60-70% gone.
Oh my lord.
And for me personally, February was tough because I lost my dad. My dad passed away. Yeah,
I'm so sorry.
It's like,
I just heard that.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry.
So then it's like, then March happens, like shut down, and we're behind on rent, and like when your boss talks to you, it's like, yo, are we gonna close? Or are we gonna, like, if we close and they're not open, or we take the bet, like me and you run the shop, and as you guys can tell, we took the bet.
You took the bet.
Yeah, and for me, I needed something to get focused, like to get my mind off of, my dad passing away, and
and that was a good way of doing it. So the for-profit side of your business, and then the charitable side of your business, because no customers were coming in, then then were donations then started in sometime during that time? Because I think St. Chinatown Love and all those organizations didn't start until maybe March or after, right? So I guess donations came in and you probably reached deep down into your pocket, or
I mean, we just like whatever we can, you know, just like bought coffee, tea, snacks, and just leave it there, like, you know.
and then people would just come in like,
yeah,
oh, that's when you noticed, I guess the homeless people that were coming in.
when we started picking up cup noodles and stuff, and they started buying like stuff like that. You can't eat cup noodles every day. That's very unhealthy.
Yeah,
you know?
right. Oh
Is
my.
it that?
It was touching when I read that.
Yeah, it was very touching, and plus you have to add a second cup of water just
Yeah.
to,
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
to
they
make it
literally
sweet.
drink it, and that's so much MSG. That's so
I
much
know.
sodium.
So
That's
you know,
terrible.
there was those little packets that
Yeah.
you throw in. It's
Yeah.
like you're just eating soup with all that sodium,
Yeah.
like you said. So then from there on, the donations started coming in from outside organizations. These young.
That's
young
more like
generation.
in May, June when I started partnering up.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. So it happened really much later. So
Yeah.
a lot of it had to come out of your own pocket.
Or like through like with the help of Yulene, like getting the word out of what we're doing in
Yeah.
Chinatown.
What a wonderful. That was
Yeah.
wonderful. Yeah, but the nurse with the hazard pay.
That really hit me hard when a nurse comes asking to pay for the whole hospital's meals through her hazard pay because all the shops were closed around her after 7. I'm like,
Right. Those are all the night frontline workers, right?
yeah, and this
There's
was
not a place to
this
eat.
was in April. This was the peak of COVID, and they were
Yes.
talking about the cup noodle diet. I'm like, we had just like,
Oh my lord!
like,
I will feed you.
yeah, like in my mind it's like, yeah, like I'm not gonna let this happen.
So Uline set up,
Like
the Assemblywoman set up a donor.
no, she's it's with me, her. We had Jenny Lowe drive alternate with the car driving me to the hospital every night to deliver the meals for 2 months straight. Yeah.
Wow. It was just basic bare knuckles.
Yeah.
Basic bare knuckles, and just try to do what you can.
Yeah.
And then
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
I was just wondering, because you and I introduced you to someone named Melissa. Like, what was that about? I read something.
Oh, she was one of my first volunteers. She's awesome.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
who's that?
Yeah.
She's
Melissa?
Melissa.
yeah.
She's,
Oh, Melissa Ip.
yeah.
I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
was supposed to say that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Melissa. yeah, she's awesome. Yeah.
Mhm.
I know you have a lot of friends that are awesome.
Yeah.
And I know there's a shout out to.
Like Grayson.
Oh,
Dallas.
my
Grayson.
You listening? And
I mean, there's always good old Carlin, you know, like
Yeah,
you
good
can't
Carlin.
not old reliable, just give him down.
and Blondie Min.
Yeah.
Dallas,
Yeah,
Dallas.
Dallas.
Carlin, Dallas, Melissa, Patrick. I mean, there's a ton of
Yeah,
names.
there's
I
a
know.
ton.
It's
Like,
just-
You know, there's a ton of names, but you know, like you always can, you know, these people you can always count on.
Yeah.
We just want people to know that we do appreciate
Yes.
and pointing out who our good Samaritans are. They are very good. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So Patrick's the older established organizations now, and also the newer, younger generations that are in the forefront are working together in Chinatown. How has that worked for you, and what have you seen as far as responses from both parties in collaborating?
So for me, growing up in Chinatown gives me, like, it helps me a lot. Learning and understanding the older organizations and how they work and run. But at the same time, for being young, it's easy for me to communicate with my peers and people my age, and for that, I could be a bridge for the older organizations and newer ones, and find a way to connect and bridge them together, and so they could work together a lot more. Like, especially in times like these where it's new, it's a clean slate for everyone. Like, no one has experience of how to deal with this pandemic, and
Exactly.
and we need to be more creative, find different ways of getting things done, because right now the status quo is not working for us in Chinatown, and we need to change that or we gotta find a way to get around it, or to move forward.
Right. So what we're trying to do here, we're trying to establish from our end that you have a forum to speak out and to say what is needed, what lifelines are needed, what things are needed, what tools you need, and how we can get that message out for the collaboration. So we're focusing on 46 Mott. So the donations are, if people want to give, it would be a good idea to send their donations to.
You could do it like cash or check to the store.
Okay, so tell them exactly.
Like you could cash or check to the store. Just put a donations attention to Patrick.
Okay.
Yeah, or you could Venmo us on Mott-46. Yeah.
Okay, so Venmo is Mott-46.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. And then also, if you want to send a check and you don't have Venmo, you could do that directly to the store at 46 Mott Street.
Yeah.
Right. Great. And also, we want to know how what you will encourage people to do on a daily basis, or a couple of times a week, what they can do to help Chinatown, because basically $50,000 does not really travel far because rents are so high, rent, utility, and the pandemic, and hopefully the vaccine era will hopefully disappear. But before that ever happens, what do you encourage people to do now, currently, for Chinatown? Tell them all the ways that you would like them to coordinate efforts.
I mean, you guys could support Chinatown, like spend in Chinatown. If you guys can't do that, share stories that you see about Chinatown. Like, all it takes is or like a story and just share. Like, that's if you can't come down and spend or buy or just support all these different organizations. Right now what we need is more exposure of what's going on in Chinatown, and every little counts, every little will help, and you just gotta keep the exposure going, like keep the narrative going, keep it in the news cycle that Chinatown needs help, and just keep it rolling. That's what we really need to do, like make it a relevant cause, a relevant thing that people keep thinking towards. We've still been hurting. We've been hurting since January, and the pandemic didn't touch, COVID cases didn't touch ground until the end of February. Lockdown happened in March, but we were hurting since January.
Yeah.
And we lost our busiest time of the year, our Lunar New Year.
Right.
So
that's the highest like it is for like Thanksgiving or Christmas, but Chinese New Year's is big banquets, celebrations, and that money didn't come in.
Yeah.
So, and back rents have to be paid, and that's why.
And with the lockdown and shutdown, now no indoor dining,
It's been a tough year.
It's gonna be a long, cold winter, like for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So foot traffic we need to donate to 46-Mott, and also you can send your checks there too at 46 Mott Street, or is it Mott-46?
Mott-46.
Okay, it's Mott-46 as far as Venmo, and 46 Mott as far as sending your checks directly to the store. Is there, you have the unifying message to end this for the holiday season. So unify, the message is to tell how to unify. What would you like to tell the community at large out there, how to unify efforts together?
We might not agree on things all the time, but let's see it, let's try to find common ground. Let's try to work together. And the easiest common ground that I could find that we could all agree on is we want to save Chinatown. We want to save our community, and I think we should focus more on that, and let's and try to build on that. And and like when more groups come together, yes, it'll take a lot more work, a lot more time, but like for example, this Light Up Chinatown project, I thought came up with, like, yes, it's taking a lot more time than I expected it would, but at the same time, you see how the strengths of all these different organizations coming together, working with each other, coming like moving along, and how it's coming like step by step coming into fruition. It's the symbolism behind it. It's also the reward of seeing like groups that's all struggling in their own different ways have their own like because of pandemic finding ways to work together and for and for that 1 second just see a bright light like and a brighter future for Chinatown that we could get through this. And another reason why I use this light up Chinatown project as a symbol because one light won't really make a difference. But when you have a lot of lights, you see a big,
I like that.
yeah.
That's a nice symbol. That's a nice symbolism, Patrick.
Like one bright light, yes. There's only so much of a difference, but when you have so many lots of bright light, it makes a change for the neighborhood.
Thank you.
And that's what I want to showcase and bring up.
Yeah, that's nice. So yeah, we'd like to end this with please support. I think Nancy has something else to say.
Oh,
Go
actually,
ahead.
I think that you wanted to cover about voting. For the
Oh,
local,
yes, that's right. Okay.
Yes, go ahead. Yeah.
So yeah, right. Okay, there is one very important aspect to this interview as well. Local politicians. I mean, those are coming up in 2021. And the message that you would like, Patrick, that you were going to say to the mayor when he was there, you can say that now to the present mayor or the mayor in the future, and the city council's open, and the borough president, and all those elections that are coming up that are instrumental, since Chinatown, as you said, we make up 15% of the population, but only getting
2%
right
of resources, yeah.
So if we're not recognized, and we don't elect the officials that recognize what's going on to help support Chinatown, then, we should get involved. I mean, thank goodness that Asian Americans did come out with the vote this year for at the presidential election, but we also need local politics in order to help implement what needs to be done in Chinatown with Asian American representation, or any candidates that you feel are also also helpful to what's happening in Chinatown, in particular with the xenophobia and the pandemic. So we want to thank Patrick Mock and congratulate him for his wonderful efforts. And he deserves every bit of what Will Smith have donated. Thank you, Will Smith, for sponsoring and recognizing Patrick Mock's efforts in Chinatown, and all of his great volunteers that we mentioned before, and all the organizations that come together in Chinatown. And if we make a concerted effort, I think Chinatown can then get off the ground. Every single day, if somebody puts in a lantern, buys a lantern, sets a light, like he said, Patrick Mock said, that bring that light and to fruition. Thank you so much, Patrick, so much, and good luck with everything.